Hispanic Heritage Month kicked off on September 15th, and to celebrate, we have a very special episode for you today, talking about Latin soccer culture and representing that culture in the USA and the NWSL. We're going to be catching up with 9-year NWSL veteran and Costa Rican international and Kansas City's current midfielder, Rocky Rodríguez. And after that, we have one of the newest faces of the NWSL, Guatemala's and Utah Royals forward, Aisha Solorzano. The duo were the first Costa Rican and first Guatemalan to feature in the NWSL, respectively. And then we'll turn things over to Portland Thorns defender Reyna Reyes and learn more about what it means to be a Texan who represents Mexico on the international stage. And brilliantly conducting those interviews and joining me on the show today is Melanie Anzidei. Hello, Melanie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. As the reporter who is featured so heavily in this episode, but also a Latina, what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you?
Oh, well, it is always a fun time to see a lot of representation out there, not just in soccer, but just all around the country, seeing a lot of people, Latinas, Hispanic people who are being celebrated. And I think that's important. I think it's important to see representation because, maybe growing up, you didn't always see it. Combining my love of football and my love of, my culture, it's also important because I do think that as we get through some of these conversations, you'll hear that maybe this representation was lacking before. So it's always important to kind of celebrate how far we've come, that we get to see other people like us in very important positions too. So, it's always a fun time to kind of sit back and just kind of celebrate, the culture.
You mentioned your culture.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your roots?
So I am the first person in my family born in the United States. So my family came to the United States in the 70s from Argentina. And prior to that, my grandfather came from Italy to Argentina. My love of football has always come from my background as being Argentinian. We were kind of born with a jersey, as they say. You're born into the sport in a very different way that some people in the U.S. may be born into, like being a Cowboys fan, a Giants fan, being in the NFL world of football. So it was always fascinating for me to grow up loving the sport, but then also being a woman in the United States, I got to grow up with the 99ers and seeing the sport in a very different, seeing that I'm able to play a sport like this. So it's very interesting because, I always say I have like my love of football is because of my culture, but my ability to play the sport was because I was raised here in the United States. So it's get to talk about both worlds today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. If I think about what has stood out to me in soccer with Hispanic Heritage Month, specifically in the women's game, it's the swag that the San Diego Wave put out. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's, I think, due to the colors, but also where the market is. It just grabs you. So can you dive a little bit more for me, Melanie, into what Hispanic Heritage Month is looking like, not only in the game, but in the NWSL?
I think, we're seeing, a lot of acknowledgement of, Latina or Hispanic players. I saw that the NWSL put out, on Instagram, example, just going through, reminding you who these players are. Of course, you mentioned the swag, there's other fun things and other fun moments that are coming together. So I think, we're going to see a lot more of that, especially since we are only one day into the month-long celebration. So I'm very excited to see kind of where things go, what more we're going to see.
Yeah, the swag's the obvious one because it kind of grabs you on social media and all those things. But when I dove a little bit deeper into the San Diego Wave specifically, they have a whole month of activations. We'll put that in the show notes for you. And if you're wondering why the start date, I know we're in the middle of September, is September 15th. It's because it marks the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries that include Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua. And in addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and 18th. Respectively. Melanie, before we dive into your 3 interviews, I'd love your take on right now, given the current political climate in this country, does Hispanic Heritage Month feel different?
I would say yes, definitely. I mean, we celebrate our culture, I would say, not just this month, year round. But I hope that a lot of people kind of take a moment to kind of sit back and reflect on what it actually means. We can't ignore the reality that, maybe me speaking Spanish in public could come with some ramifications. And that's just the world we're in right now, which is, in my opinion, incredibly unfortunate. So, of course, you have to think about the context of what that means, because we're not just talking about soccer, we're not just talking about players, we're talking about people and, how that affects them. So it does feel different because, while we are having these, you know, the swag, the color, the celebration, we have to also acknowledge that these other things are very real and happening. And, it's an inflection point for a lot of this, I think.
Melanie, thank you so much.
And now we're about to hear a conversation with Kansas City midfielder and Costa Rica international player Rocky Rodríguez, who will share with us her fascinating story of starting her career in Costa Rica, being told she'll never play in front of a sold out stadium, to now playing at CPKC Stadium. And we all know how those stadiums are. Hi, Rocky. Thanks so much for taking the time to speaking with us today. How are you doing?
Good, good. Just chilling.
Chilling. Yeah, so first off, really excited to talk with you kind of about, your background, your career, kind of all of these different things that I'm sure will be really great to hear from. But just to get us started, if you could take me back all the way to kind of the start of it all, kind of what brought you to soccer and how you kind of got started in the sport.
Well, I got started because my dad, he used to play soccer professionally. He at the time had like a little group of kids who he was training, at the request of their moms. So yeah, he was nice enough to do that, and so he would bring me and my brother, and that's kind of how I knew I also liked like I had the passion to play. My dad then kind of realized I also had the talent, and that's how it all started. I was like 4 years old. Yeah.
And what was it like just having a father who played professionally? Of course, played in Costa Rica too, your home. So what was that like for you growing up?
I mean, I wish I was like old enough to watch him play. He actually retired the year that I was born.
Oh,
But yeah, but I so wish I could have seen him play. I've seen videos only, but I mean, growing up, like people knew who he was, and still people from his generation knows who he is, but yeah, it wasn't like, but it was cool, I always looked up to him in a like he was kind of like a yeah, just like a strong athletic dad. That's how I looked at him, and he was always by my side, pushing me a lot, but always present, and so that's what it was like. It was tough at some moments, and but now as an adult, I thank him very much for being so present, and for being so supportive. Just because I was a female playing soccer, and at the time it was looked down upon. Still, some parents in Costa Rica don't like that, and so, but he was key, I think, in me dreaming, playing professionally in the national team.
yeah. And about that, I mean, what was it like? Kind of course, representing your country is one thing, but wearing the same jersey that your father wore. I mean, what was that like for you? Kind of putting on the jersey, knowing you're kind of following in those footsteps.
When I was starting, it was like I was Siviani is his name. I was Siviani's daughter. Eventually, I was able to be called by my name. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, I mean, I think he's, I don't know, he's like my number one fan, and he'll say like I'm better than him. He has said that. But I think he was so good, I I feel like our careers were a little different. There's no, I was gonna compare us, but I think that in representing my country, but I also represent my dad, my family, and I owe him a lot. I don't know if I would have had the emotional strength without his support. And so that it's what it was like to grow up and kind of, push the boundaries of myself. Maybe it's something that he would have liked to have done himself, or maybe I had opportunities he didn't, or whatever it was. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
he, in some way, kind of lived his dream through me, but at the
Mm.
same time, completely different. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And So I guess what is it like when you did kind of, become your own player, representing Costa Rica, not only on the national team, but also, as a player here in the United States in the NWSL? What's that like?
I feel really proud of having played in the NWSL for now more than 10 years. It's such a difficult league, and also staying in the same league, staying in the in the same couple teams, it's hard, and especially as the league keeps growing, it's really hard. And so I feel really proud of my personal accomplishments. But I've also had in mind my national team. I always have like that sense of responsibility. And but representing Costa Rica, it's the international stage is really unique, and it's given me amazing moments. Uh, I feel like our generation has been able to live amazing moments too for our country. We've made history together, and I hope that the upcoming major tournaments we can also make our legacy, or just be present in there. I don't want to stop dreaming with national team, although as hard as it is, the level keeps growing internationally, and in Costa Rica maybe we're a little uh delayed in the growth of the sport, for women specifically. But yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to keep pushing your boundaries and being at the elite level. But it for me, it's a dream come true. This is all I dream for. So it's a journey. There's highs and lows as always.
Yeah. And I'm curious if you can speak a little bit more about how you see kind of the game kind of evolving in Costa Rica, from the perspective as a professional player, from when maybe you started to now. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
In the last couple of years, there's been a lot of growth worldwide, but in Costa Rica, it's been kind of the opposite. Um, it's really unfortunate. I think it might be a problem, perhaps in the country itself. But it's sad and it's frustrating, because you would think that after qualifying to two World Cups now, things would change. But recently, the local tournament, which you cannot consider, it's not professional, but there's always been a tournament. It had to stop because some teams had to pull out of it, because um, it's just not sustainable for them, or they simply don't want to invest in women's soccer. And there is no organization, no structure. To me, the main thing is there's no vision and no coordination as to no short, medium, and long term goals. And it's just kind of up there. It's to me, it's just neglected. It's there. Nobody cares really. Um, and at the same time, how do we fight? Because in the history, right, of women's sports and just women in general, outside of sports, everything has there needs to be like, we need to fight for our rights. We've had to fight for to make ourselves space to be able to participate, to be able to vote, to work. And so unfortunately, it kind of has to come down to that. But sometimes I do wonder, like, what should I do? What can I do? Uh, but sometimes, at least for right now, it just feels bigger. Just a fight that it's bigger than I cannot take it on my own. I shouldn't take it on my own. I know there's a lot of people who want to join, but yeah, I think, how has it evolved in Costa Rica? Unfortunately, it has gone backwards. I feel like in the last couple of years. But we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what
Hmm.
happens. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, yeah. And this kind of brings me to in 2016, you said that if I knew if I wanted to keep growing as a soccer player, I had to leave Costa Rica. And I guess kind of reflecting on that, I mean, can you talk about your growth as a player since leaving? I mean, do you still feel that way that players kind of have to go elsewhere to kind of develop, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, actually, right now, the immediate solution that everybody knows, if we want the national team to be better, you need to go elsewhere. but going elsewhere isn't also easy just because you're also competing against other international players who are, it's only growing, but still, if you're able to leave Costa Rica, and just be part of a team in a league that's decent, right? It's going to be better than Costa Rica, but um, yeah, there's not every player would want that. Not every situation is necessarily better. Um, it depends on what team you truly can go. But I do think that if you can, you should take the opportunity to leave, and that's gonna make you grow. It's always expected from international players to uh, to show up, right? Because you're getting a contract internationally. So it's always good for the players to feel that pressure, to take that weight on their shoulders, and of course to just play at an elite level. Just the tournament in Costa Rica, there's maybe a couple, two, three teams that are good and somewhat competitive, and then the rest are not.
And obviously, you made this decision to leave. You know, you played at Penn State, you've been in the NWSL for so long. Can you talk about kind of how that shaped you and kind of your journey here in the States, and how it's been for you?
Yeah, Penn State was, I think, the perfect fit without me knowing that it would be. I only knew that Erica Dombach, she was an amazing coach, but I didn't know how good she was until I went there. Um, and I knew that I needed development, and so I think for me coming to college was really really awesome. I also wanted to get a degree, and so but those 4 years were really important for my development, soccer wise and also mentality wise. And that really helped me to then do the jump professionally. It was just a perfect fit and something that I really needed, and I had all the hunger in the world, but I just needed the right coaching, and I'm happy I found that in Penn State.
And what about the NWSL? What has that journey been like for you?
And WSL, wow, has been lots of ups and downs. I feel like, I joined my first year, I joined in 2016 in the league, so that was 3 years, only 3 years after its conception. And it's a totally different league. Um, Although when I joined, of course, the higher the level you go up, then the harder it gets, right? But that was what I wanted to live. And it's been an amazing adventure. Like I said, I've lived really weird things, hard times. You would think the NWSL was professional enough since the beginning, and it was not like that. Um, and so I'm just, in a way, I'm really proud as well to have been part of those players who have helped build the league, and to see how far the league has come. To have been, another dream come true was to be a champion in the NWSL, the Shield, the championship. Um, the highs and lows, and now being part of a team like Kansas City Current it's amazing, right? Every year it just gets more competitive, there's more resources, and I know it's only going to keep growing. So I'm also happy that I get to live, like, the also the good times, the good parts of the league that it hasn't always necessarily been there.
Yeah. And of course, you're living in the States. How do you stay connected to your Costa Rican culture being here?
It's really tough. It's really tough because I think the more time that goes by, the more I miss it. I guess as you grow up, priorities kind of start to change, and you just miss your roots, and it's just never the same. And then because of the nature of our job, you kind of you're in a city for a couple of years, and then you have to pack and leave. And but thank God for technology. Thank God that also there's I've been lucky enough to meet people in the different cities, but who can we can relate to each other, and being homesick, or the things that we like about the US, the things that we miss about home. um but everything has a price, right? Like I'm living my dream, and I know it's, you know there's a time for everything. In the off season, I have a chance to see my family and my loved ones, and I go back. Then during the season, every time that they can come, they come. And so that's kind of the way that we stay connected. And obviously, with technology, we can talk every day. Um, but yeah, it's important to stay connected with my roots and with my people, because it's just who I am, and it's important to know that.
Yeah. And are there any places that you like to visit or you like to go to with your family when they're here? Maybe some restaurants that remind you of home?
When it comes to food is weird, but when it comes to food, I actually really like Asian food. It's it Out
Okay.
of the things that I miss from home, it's not necessarily the food. I do miss just the little things, just having like drink coffee with my parents or friends or whoever's birthday, then we can celebrate that weekend. It's the little things that I miss the most. But when it comes down to food, I actually enjoy, like I said, like other ethnicities actually, like Thai and Asian or Korean.
Yeah. And I guess one final question I wanted to ask you. I mean, I was reading an old profile about you, and there was mention how when you were younger, maybe I believe 10 years old or so, you were told that you will never play in a full stadium, that nobody cares about watching women's soccer. I mean, you've gone and had such an incredible career. You scored the first goal for the Costa Rican national team in the World Cup. So, and you played at in Kansas City, which has its own stadium, purpose built for the team. So, I guess kind of reflecting on all that, kind of where you were in the beginning to now. I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think that's why it means a lot to me. Up until just recently, my life revolved around soccer. For better or for worse, I think I had to do that to be able to be where I am. At least for me, that's just how my story went. Um, but that's why it means so much to me, the fact that we do play with a full stadium, right? And here in Kansas and other cities specifically, there's always a good fan base. And when I was told that, he was a family member, it hurt me so bad. Like, it really hurt me. I guess at the time I was just a kid, and it just felt unfair. And I thought, why do I have to be a boy to leave these things? And just because I'm a girl, nobody cares, although I'm better than some boys. Um, and so, yeah, that's exactly why it means so much to me. Playing here, and it's a dream come true because I wanted it so bad. And it was not easy at all. I come from a country where, again, it's looked down upon it, especially when I was a kid, especially. It was so tough, and I was lucky enough to have a family that supported me, but it didn't mean it was easier, right? Like, I kept getting the same message, and that's also kind of why I had to leave Costa Rica. Um, and at that time, I was kind of like, I had a grudge with my own country for that reason. Um, and so now I just, instead of holding a grudge, I think I now know that every country has its good things and its not so good things. But I love my country. I love representing it. And now I know that through living my own dream, I've not only shown people wrong, but I've also shown other girls that if they've heard that message, it's not true necessarily, right? But it takes hard work and everything. But if you want it, you can, right? And we can pick and choose which voices to hear and which ones not to hear. And so, yeah, I feel really blessed that I was able to live something, a dream, that I know not everybody can, especially coming from Costa Rica.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know we've been talking for a long time and I could talk about this forever with you. So I really, really appreciate all of your insight and sharing your story with us.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much.
Hi, Hi, Aisha. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Hi, thank you guys for choosing me today.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So, I guess just to start, I mean, I would love to go back to the very beginning. If you could talk with me about your soccer upbringing and kind of when you got started in the sport.
Yeah, so basically, soccer has been with my family since I was born. My dad played professional in Guatemala, so it's basically in the family. And then I just started playing in my neighborhood, in the streets. And then there is like a small concrete field in front of my house, so I was just playing there with boys when I was like little, and then my dad just like took me to these like tryouts for the national team when I was like 12 or something like that. And yeah, basically that's how I start like seeing soccer a little bit more serious. Because after that I joined like a club in Guatemala. Um, that kind of like, made me grow up in soccer and kind of like show me and help me to, to get better and all that. And yeah, that's basically how I start.
And can you share a little bit about what the soccer culture is like in Guatemala?
Yeah, it's really big in Guatemala. Like, people is really like passionate about it. Like when we are growing up, we are like looking at soccer as like the sport that we want to play. So yeah, I will say that is like really big and people love soccer, love to watch soccer. Um, for example, in my neighborhood, like there is like tournaments and every like weekend is just so full of people watching like, kids play or just like teenagers, and it's just like really fun to have that culture.
Yeah, definitely. And can you share you mentioned your father was professional. What was that like for you kind of growing up watching him play?
So I didn't like really watch him play because
Okay.
he kind of like retired before I was born. Still like just going to the fields and all of that, and it was just like so nice because of him I'm just like so like close to soccer, and also my mom loves soccer, so it was just like nice for us to have like every weekend, I don't know, going to the parks or just like playing and stuff like that. So yeah, that was nice.
Obviously, you've since come to the NWSL. You're the first Guatemalan player in the league to
Yeah.
officially play. So, I mean, what does that mean to you, kind of representing, your home and being the first in the league?
It represent a lot. I think a little bit of like pressure to kind of like put Guatemala on the map and kind of like do the things in a good way, because I want to see more Guatemalans players like join the league. So I want to do the things really good, and but like I'm also like enjoying, like I think I come like so far to be here right now. So yeah, I'm just like enjoying, like kind of like having like that pride that I'm here right now, and just like focusing on the good things to grow up and to do like all what I can do to keep putting Guatemala on the map.
And what is it like for you, kind of, being, back in the States now and playing, in the NWSL? Are there things you do to kind of make sure, or are there things you miss from home? Are there places you go that kind of remind you of home, maybe some restaurants or anything like that?
Yeah, like now that I'm here, like there's like this panaderia, and I
See,
don't know how to say, and close
like a
here.
bakery, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that is Guatemalan one, and I'm like I go there every time that I miss home. I'm like go get like like fresh like bread and all of that, and I'm just like yeah, and basically trying to get like whatever I need to kind of like make this like my home, but like also like having Guatemalan stuff. And yeah, it's like kind of like difficult, but yeah, I'm just how I say I'm enjoying like this time here. So I'm trying to get like the best out of this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And just thinking back to, obviously, like you said, you've had a long journey to get to this point playing in the NWSL.
Mm.
So, can you talk a little bit more about that? Kind of, did you ever imagine yourself being in this league?
Not really. Like, I thought this was like so far away. Like when I start, it wasn't like that long ago either. It was, I think, like 2 years, 1 year and a half, and Mexico. And yeah, I thought it's gonna take me more time. And yeah, when everything happened, I was just like, just like so surprised. So I don't know. It was just like crazy. But like, yeah, like basically my journey started in Guatemala with Unifood, and yeah, they helped me with growing and kind of like knowing the game, get better, this and that. And then I moved to Florida to college,
Hmm.
and basically with no English, um with the opportunity to learn English and also to play and to get my degree. So I took that opportunity too. It was really hard because, I didn't know English, but I knew it was like really big things for my life. So yeah, at the beginning it was like so hard, but yeah, my parents were like, "You have to finish. You start that. You have to finish," and they were pushing me. And yeah, basically it ended up like being one of the best things on of my life. And then, yeah, I get back to Guatemala for a couple of months, and then the opportunity from Mexico came, and I didn't doubt it, and I was like, I have to do it. Went to Puebla, and then had a really good 2 seasons there. Then moved to Tijuana, and yeah, now I'm here, and yeah, just crazy how everything it was just so like fast, and yeah, I'm just like learning and growing, and yeah, just like enjoying the opportunity.
Yeah, and obviously you played against your current club at the
Yeah.
Summer Cup. So what was that like for you kind of getting the call from, the opposing team? Obviously they saw you play in the tournament. So what was that moment like for you?
It was just like surprising because that game we lost, I think 5-1 or something. And I was like, I don't think it was one of my best games, but like, I think they probably like, like see me before and kind of like check the games and all of that. And I was like, okay, like this is like a big thing. Like I didn't like see this coming like right now, but like if God is sending me this opportunity, it's because I'm ready for it. So I was just like, yeah, basically just like so surprised, obviously, but like grateful at the same time. I was just like, if it's like for me, everything is gonna work out, and yeah, I'm just gonna go like for it.
Yeah. And going back to the national team, I mean, what's it like for you kind of representing Guatemala like that and being able to represent your country doing what you love and playing soccer?
Yeah, basically it's like beautiful. Like I love to represent Guatemala, and yeah, I just like have pride to basically represent like the country everywhere like I go or in the national team. And yeah, basically I just try to do my best when I go there, and yeah, I just have fun and love like or do what I love with the national team.
And can you talk a little bit about what soccer is like, or women's soccer specifically is like in Guatemala?
Yeah, so in Guatemala, it's like not that big. We don't have like a professional league yet. Hopefully, that's gonna be soon. We don't exactly know. We're like fighting for that. But yeah, like there is a league that it's there, but like not all the teams like pay the players. Some players have to work during the day to kind of like be able to play soccer or go to practices or kind of like support the family. So it's really difficult for the soccer in Guatemala, um for a woman, I will say, because yeah, we don't have like the exact like all the support that we want. So yeah, basically, yeah, we have to. It's just like really like it's little still, like no support, no like how we want to be, and yeah, it's just like we have to work, or like friends have to work to be able to play and do what they love.
Hmm. And what do you think has to happen for maybe the sport to kind of grow or to evolve more in Guatemala?
Yeah, I think like a lot of support, like especially for the federation. I think even in the national team is like we need more support. We don't have like, just this year, I think is the first year that we're having the FIFA window games, because before we didn't have that. And yeah, basically just like starting for the federation, we need that support for the sport to kind of like grow up. And also like we need like, like how I say, like things to people, for people to kind of like look at us, and look at the game and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we have they just starting for the federation and support and all of that, like in other countries, like making like women's like feel like they also like are part of the game.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, you chose to leave Guatemala to play, in Mexico and
Mhm.
then to play here in the United States. And I mean, how do you compare? Obviously, you just spoke a lot about the game in Guatemala and how it is, but how would you compare it to Mexico and even to the United States?
Yeah, I would say like Mexico is really big in women's like soccer right now. I think it's like one of the countries that really support like the sport. So that's really nice. And also here, like in the States also like people support a lot the sport. So yeah, I love that about both like countries. But like the game is really different, like in Mexico it's more like tactical, more like less physical and more technique and this and that. And here is more like physical, direct and stuff like that. And it's just like so different. Like the leagues are like completely different. That was one of the things that I like. It was hard for me to kind of like adjust when I get here, because here is just like direct, direct, really like physical. And I was like so used to, like kind of like have more the ball on my feet, and more touches, this and that, and more like technique. And yeah, here is just like another thing. So I would say like both like countries have like a lot of support, and they have a lot of like fans. That's one of the cool things. You go to everywhere, and there's like people in the stadium, so that's really nice. And yeah, I would say like it kind of like when like it kind of like grow really fast in like for example Mexico, and
Mm-hmm.
here like because of the national team and all of that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the NWSL, and you spoke about how different it was.
Mhm.
A lot of people that when they play in the league, they talk about this welcome to the NWSL moment. Was there a moment, like maybe during one of the first games, that you're like, oh, wow, I'm really here, I'm in the league?
Yeah, basically, I was like that on practice
Okay.
because I never had to run that much in my life. On how I have to run here in preseason, it was crazy for me. So, yeah, my body was just like, adjusting, and it was like hard for my body to kind of like get to the point that I'm now. So, yeah, basically, I would say one of the first practices, I was like wow, I'm here now. I have to work like extra double whatever to get to the spot like that I need to, that I want to, because I know that this league is just like top of the top, so I have to be better than what I'm doing like right now. So yeah, that was basically the moment that I think now.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about, Hispanic Heritage Month and Latin American Heritage Month. So, what does that mean to you? Obviously, being in the United States now and having people celebrate this moment, your
Yeah,
heritage.
I think it's really cool because it's a lot of like Hispanic community here. So for the country to make a day about that is really cool, because it kind of like give you the value uh as an Hispanic like like person. So yeah, I think it's really cool. It's really like kind of like I value that moment. I also kind of like go back to when I was in Guatemala, for example, yesterday. That is the day in Guatemala, and I was like just like okay, like I can have it here too, not going like that far away from home. And it's it's just like it's kind of like a hug to my heart because yeah, it's just like really nice that that we have those moments here, and especially for the Latino community that right now is, you know, having like that like hard moments. I think that day just like can you know make you feel better or good, I'll say.
Yeah. And final question, what has it been like playing in the league? Have you seen other Guatemalan fans coming, seeing you in the stands? Have you seen the flags, the jerseys? What's that been like?
Yeah, like, I have seen like a lot of Guatemalans. That's so nice. I love to see the flag, and yeah, basically I just like run to them and kind of like hug them, and I thank them because yeah, I'm like just seeing the flag is just like cute to me, you know, like I felt just like I don't know emotional, and I kind of like to talk to the people like and just like kind of like. Um, I don't know, to kind of like know from where they are in Guatemala, like what they're doing here, and yeah, it's just like so nice to kind of like enjoy that moment when you're going to play to another like state, for example, and people are just like there in the stadium, and it's just like so nice to see the flag, to see the people, to see the support, because yeah, we have that this like phrase that un guatemalteco nunca está solo. And that's
Hmm.
like a phrase that we always like, you know, when the national team plays in in another country and stuff like that. And yeah, I feel that with that phrase, I feel it like in my heart when I see those flags.
Yeah. So a Guatemalan is never alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that so much. Well, Aisha, thank you so much. Gracias por tu tiempo. We really appreciate this. So, yeah, thank you so much for having us, for taking the
Thank
time to
you.
speak with us.
Thank you guys. Thank you to you.
Hi, Reyna. Thanks so much for taking the time to speaking with us on Full Time.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Just to get started, we're going to be talking about so much, but if you can take me back to the very beginning about how you started playing soccer and what your upbringing in the sport was like.
Yes. I started playing soccer ever since I can remember. I had tons of cousins growing up on my dad's side, and literally every Sunday we'd have family dinner and we'd all be outside until dinner was ready, just playing soccer for hours. I loved it so much, and just wanted to do more of it. I wanted to play it all the time, and so my parents put me, in rec, and then I just developed up from there, going to select and then academy and just growing. And then I knew it was like a real dream of mine that I wanted to make it far. So,
Yeah, and of course now you're with the NWSL, but also previously you have played for, you have represented Mexico on the national team side. So can you talk a little bit about how you your journey into the national team?
yes. So I think I got called up to my first camp when I was in eighth grade. I was like 14, 13 years old. And I got called up to a U17 camp. So I was like way younger than them because they weren't running a U15 cycle for a while, but they wanted to see me. There was a scout that had been scouting our team for a while, and he wanted me to try out, but he was like, just go to this U17 camp. At least I'll get to see you. And then I ended up actually um, staying with that team, and they just kept inviting me to that cycle. So I did 2 rounds of the U17s, went to the World Cup, my first ever World Cup, and then in 2018 I went to the second U17 round of the World Cup, and we ended up making it in second place against Spain. But we were the first ever women's soccer team for Mexico to make it that far in a World Cup. So we made history, which was such an honor. But yeah, unfortunately, our U20 World Cup got canceled because of COVID. So sadly, I didn't get to participate in that. But then I got called into my first full women's national team camp when I was sophomore in college. And I was just so excited when I got that message because I hadn't been to a camp in so long since COVID, and I just got called into the full team camp, and then I've been on it since then.
And obviously you grew up in, you're born in the United States and you grew up in Texas. So what is it like being, a Mexican American and, representing Mexico at the national team level?
Well, my dad was actually born in Mexico, so luckily, they take up to third generation, but I was first generation. So I'm very grateful that that is a thing because I love playing for Mexico. It's an honor. And it's also just like, it's an honor to my family too. Like when I told my grandparents that I got invited to my first camp, like my abuelito just started honestly just busting out into tears, and he was so happy. They actually went to my first camp with me and got to watch the practices and stuff. I have pictures of my very first camp too. But yeah, it's honestly just such an honor, and I'm so grateful for it.
And a lot of players we've spoken with so far have mentioned how, whether they're coming from another country, maybe like, Costa Rica, Guatemala, like it's different where you aren't, maybe isn't as encouraged for girls to play the sport. Maybe it's more pushed if you're a boy. So I'm curious what that was like for you. Kind of, were you encouraged to play? Was there ever any kind of conflict there?
My mom, honestly, was probably my biggest cheerleader and like pushed me to, play whatever, put me in honestly every sport growing up. My dad definitely was like, he encouraged me too, but he also was just like, have another plan, like, because I guess it's just very unlikely for, women, honestly, to make it that far. And I think he was just more like thinking like reality instead of like a dream. And so he always kind of pushed, maybe you should go to med school, maybe this. And I'm just like, Dad, I think I got this. Like, I think I can do it. But he was encouraging too. And he, supported me through everything too.
Yeah. And once you were with the national team, just being, having that double identity as being American and Mexican, how was that received by your teammates? Was it, what was that like for you?
It was a little hard coming in because I also didn't know the full language yet. I'm still actually working on that. I understand a lot more than I can speak. It's just speaking I have a little bit of trouble with. But honestly, like the culture and everything, so good. The girls are so kind. It was just a little hard for me, like with the language barrier and learning those things. It was like I couldn't just focus on the soccer part. I also had to like learn that. But honestly, just like the mesh in with the girls was just super natural. They were super welcoming and just honestly love the culture there.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking about, Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm curious, what does that mean to you?
So much, honestly. I think too, like as I'm trying to learn the language and everything too, it means so much more to me. And I know how important it is to my grandparents and my family. I know what they went through to get here, and just the way they support me, and just honestly also going to camps and everything too. Like I get to really find out more about my culture and everything, and it's so beautiful. And growing up too, like my family would take us to Mexico. My grandparents would take all of our cousins to Mexico, and we would be with them. But I think venturing off on my own, going to Mexico and like seeing parts that like without my parents or anything, like I saw so much more than I would with them, and found out so much more, and just saw the beauty of Mexico, and I really love it.
Yeah. And you of course play in the NWSL, so for the Portland Thorns, and I'm curious what it's like for you. You are American and you are Mexican. So, do you feel like a significance, or is it meaningful to you to have that representation as being, a Mexican player in the National Women's Soccer League?
Yes. I think sometimes I kind of forget about it too, in a way,
Yeah.
but like girls will actually reach out to me on social media and just let me know how much like it actually means to them that I'm like representing like Mexican women all over the world. And it actually like it makes me realize like how very little like Hispanics have made it out. And I feel like obviously every year now it's more and more, and that's a great thing to see. But yeah, I think now it actually makes me more aware and like want to go and like just kind of be a role model for all those little girls, and like just like inspire other girls to let them know like this dream can happen. You just have to put your head down, work hard, and you'll get there. So
Are there any moments like those moments that kind of stand out to you, or maybe you had a girl come up to you, or maybe someone after a game that kind of sticks with you?
yeah, I actually one of my skills coaches that I work with in the off season, he actually texted me like, hey, like this little girl has been begging me for you to come out and just like she can say hello. She loves watching you. And I was like, yeah, like actually just let me know the next time. So I went out there, and like he was like just surprised her. She doesn't know, like she was training, and then like she just like turned around, saw me, and she like doesn't like we've never met, don't know her. She just started running up to me and just gave me a huge hug and just started bawling. And honestly, just seeing like something like that, like, oh, like I inspire someone like that, like it means so much and makes me want to elevate every part of my game and as a person and player.
You mentioned how you kind of forget, you're just a player. It does, like, the Mexican American side of you just kind of goes away when you're just focusing on football. But what is it like kind of grappling with that identity? Was it hard for you to was there ever an opportunity where maybe you thought, maybe I want to represent the US when you were younger, or was that ever like something that kind of crossed your mind?
Growing up, I did want to make it to a national team. I actually didn't even know that Mexico was an option until that scout came out. So initially, yes, I was wanting to hopefully make it to the U.S. national team. But then when that scout came and said, hey, like, we do take up to third generation, I didn't even know that was a thing until then. And then I was like, oh, amazing. Like, I would love to come. I would love to try it. And then as soon as I went to my first camp, I was like, I love it here. Like, and so I'm just, again, very honored and grateful to have that chance.
Of course, growing up in Texas, what was that like, having both your Mexican and American identities?
Well, Texas is so close to the border. So I would say, honestly, I grew up with so much, there's just so much versatility in races growing up. So I grew up around a lot of Mexicans and everything too. So I naturally got the sense of that. And then obviously my family being huge. But I love Texas. It has a lot of culture that Mexico has. Obviously, not as much, but it's there. There's a lot of it. So I wouldn't say it's much different. I love Texas. I think whenever I retire, I want to move back there. So
awesome. And can you just talk about your experience, in the NWSL? What's that been like for you?
Great. Rookie year, growing year. This last year and this year, definitely I've gotten way more confident, comfortable, and just wanting to elevate my game any way I can, learn, grow from every game, watching film, doing this, and just honestly just growing on and off the field.
Yeah. And of course, in professional soccer, or, obviously Hispanic Heritage Month, one component of it is just the visibility of more culture, celebrating more identities in the NWSL. I mean, obviously, we're very early in the month. There's a lot that can still happen. What are you hoping to kind of see in the league? Are you hoping to see maybe more elevated voices? What's something that you're looking forward to?
Yes, absolutely. I think that would be great. I think obviously any Heritage Month, like I think we could do more to voice those heritage is. But yeah, I know in the past years, at least since my rookie year, like I've seen more and more each year. But yeah, I plan on dressing up so for the next game. Yeah, exactly, representing the heritage. So yeah.
A little sneak preview of more to come, it sounds like. One last question I wanted to say. Just looking ahead to the future of the NWSL, of Mexican women's football, I mean, from the beginning of your career to now, what do you see of the evolution of maybe the connection between the two sports, maybe seeing more Mexican players in the NWSL? What's that been like for you kind of going on this journey?
It definitely has grown where there's more Hispanics coming in. I think also like the Liga, it's growing too, but I think obviously seeing a couple of big switches from my team of them coming over to the NWSL, I'm actually really happy for them. And I think more might come and vice versa. But I think, the league is growing, NWSL is growing. I feel like there's going to be, a lot of people just coming over for the first time. I think the NWSL is doing a great job at expanding and looking abroad and bringing people over. So I think it's really good, and it's also going to help us grow in our game and have that versatility and different styles, people from all different backgrounds coming, and you're just growing together. And yeah, I think it's great.
Awesome. Well, Reyna, thank you so much for taking the time, for speaking with us on Full Time, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you have in store.
Thank you.
That does it for our show this week. A massive thank you to our guests and to Melanie, and thank you to our listeners for being here. If you want to let us know what you are doing for Hispanic Heritage Month or get in touch about anything else, you can always shoot us an email, fulltime@theathletic.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram or TikTok. Be sure to follow our new social media handle that is at The Athletic Fulltime, at The Athletic Fulltime. And in case you didn't know, The Athletic has partnered with Yahoo Sports to provide free best-in-class coverage of women's sports. That's right. So go check out the Women's Sports Hub at sports.yahoo.com/women-sports. That link as well is in the show notes for you. That does it for our episode today. A very special thanks to our podcast producer, Theo Lloyd Hughes, our video producer, Leah Griffin, and our executive producer, Emily Olson. We'll see you soon.